The story begins in June 2024, when Julio, who had just turned 26, decided to celebrate his birthday in Tampa, Florida. He saw Tampa as a chill spot, a place where he could relax without worrying too much about the dangers he faced in Jacksonville. But little did he know that a group of killers was tracking his every move, waiting for the right moment to strike. This group, consisting of Isaiah Chance, Alicia Andrews, Shaw Gator, Davin Murphy, and Rashad Murphy, was responsible for Julio's murder. What's shocking is not just the crime they committed, but how poorly they executed it. These weren't hardened criminals with a well-thought-out plan. They were, as one commenter put it, the world's dumbest criminals. The first mistake came from Shaw Gator, one of the shooters involved in the plot. Gator, just 18 years old, was known for his reckless behavior. He had already been involved in shooting Foolio in the foot months earlier, a crime that left him linked to Foolio's murder from the start. But instead of learning from his mistakes, Gator made things even worse. On the day of the murder, Gator used his mother's car to drive to Tampa. You'd think that if you were planning to commit a murder, you'd at least take some basic precautions like covering the license plate or using a stolen car. But not Gator. He rolled up in his mom's car with the plates visible for everyone to see. It's like the #1 rule of being a criminal. Don't leave any trace. Yet Gator blew it right there, leaving a trail that investigators would later use to piece together the crime. And it doesn't stop there. After the murder, Gator didn't even bother to clean up properly. He left shell casings from the night he shot Foolio in the foot inside his mom's car. These shell casings directly linked him to the earlier shooting and the murder of Foolio. It's almost as if Gator wanted to get caught. So, how did the actual murder happen? On the night of the crime, the group followed Foolio to several locations in Tampa. Foolio had announced his plans on Instagram, letting everyone know he'd be at Teaser's Gentlemen's Club and Truth 18 nightclub. Isaiah and Alicia drove a silver Chevy Cruze, while Gator was behind the wheel of a black Chevy Impala. They tracked Foolio from spot to spot, with every move captured on surveillance cameras. The tension mounted as they followed Foolio to his final stop at Home 2 Suites, a hotel near the University of South Florida. The killers were not just sloppy, they were downright careless. The Cruze did a couple of laps around Foolio's car, giving the signal for the Impala to move in. Once in position, Gator and the Murphy brothers opened fire with a handgun and 2 rifles. Foolio's car sped off, but the damage was done. The shooters thought they had pulled off the perfect crime, but they severely underestimated modern surveillance technology. After the murder, the group headed back to their Airbnb in Tampa, which they had booked from June 22nd to the 24th. This Airbnb, just a mile from where Foolio was killed, would be their downfall. The place had a Ring camera at the front door that captured key footage of their movements. Isaiah was seen stepping out briefly with a champagne flute, Davin was carrying a bag, and the whole crew passed by the camera multiple times. Alicia was even caught on camera wearing the same clothes from the night of the murder. All this footage was gold for the investigators, helping them piece together what happened and identify the suspects. But the investigation didn't stop there. Detectives kept tracking Gator's movements. About 12 hours after the murder, Gator showed up at a family member's house dressed in all black, just like in the surveillance footage. He went inside for a couple of hours, then came back out around 6:30 p.m. While chatting on his phone, Gator was seen cleaning the exterior and interior door handles of his car with a rag. He also moved multiple bags into the garage, where a 2004 gold 4Runner was parked. Then he left in the 4Runner, but this vehicle would lead the feds right to their doorstep. A few days later, Gator was arrested while driving the 4Runner. Rumor has it that Gator might have flipped and snitched on his accomplices because, in less than a month, the cops had managed to close in on all of them. There's even a theory floating around that Gator might have snitched on his accomplices, and it's partly based on what went down just 3 days after Foolio's murder. On June 26th, Jacksonville Sheriff's deputies spotted a gold 4Runner tearing through the streets of Jacksonville. The car had heavily tinted windows, so it was tough to see who was inside. When the unmarked patrol vehicle turned on its lights, signaling the 4Runner to pull over, the driver complied, bringing the vehicle to a stop. Little did they know, this traffic stop would be a big step towards solving Foolio's murder. The driver turned out to be Gator. As deputies approached, they immediately caught a whiff of marijuana coming from the car. Gator denied any involvement with marijuana, but the deputies had enough probable cause to search the vehicle. They asked Gator to step out and stand by the back of the 4Runner while they conducted a thorough search. What they found was eye-opening. In the car, they discovered a small bag with marijuana residue and mushrooms, but that was just the start. In the center console, they found a Glock 19, a semi-automatic pistol. The presence of the firearm was a huge red flag, but things got even more alarming when they checked the back seat. They found several bags of ammunition and parts for firearms. It was clear that Gator wasn't just an ordinary teenager. He had a serious stash of weaponry and ammo. Gator was arrested and taken to the Crime Gun Intelligence Center for questioning. The deputies hoped this arrest might lead them to more answers in the case. Although he was released, Gator was nabbed again less than 24 hours later at a Jacksonville shopping center. That same day, law enforcement received a tip that shifted the investigation into high gear. This new intel pointed to a murder conspiracy, and Gator's arrest was the key that opened up this lead. With this new information, the detectives got a search warrant and quickly moved on it. They zeroed in on a house on Jacksonville's north side, where they believed Isaiah Chance and Alicia Andrews were holed up. Detectives surrounded the place and used a PA system to call out for the occupants to surrender. They spent 15 to 20 minutes trying to get them to come out peacefully. Eventually, Isaiah and Alicia were taken into custody, which was a huge break in the case. Now, with 3 suspects behind bars, the investigation was starting to piece together, but there was still one more major player on the loose, Rashad Murphy. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, with help from U.S. Marshals, tracked Rashad's movements and eventually pinpointed him at the Collins Preserve Apartments in the Ortega area of Jacksonville. The day after Isaiah and Alicia were arrested, SWAT units were sent to the apartments to find Murphy. They set up a perimeter around the place to keep him from escaping. Reports soon came in that Rashad was barricaded inside the apartment, holding a gun to his head and on FaceTime with his girlfriend, refusing to come out. After a tense standoff that lasted until just after midnight, Rashad finally surrendered, bringing this dramatic chapter to a close. Before all these arrests went down, the suspects were already showing how clueless they were. Take Isaiah Chance, for instance. Just a few days after Foolio's murder, while the police were scrambling for any leads or evidence, Isaiah decided it was a good idea to drop some hints on a Twitter space. In his mind, he was being clever, speaking in code that only his friends would understand. But here's the thing. If random people on Reddit can figure out what you're saying, you can bet that detectives and law enforcement are also listening in and taking notes. It's like Isaiah was practically begging to get caught. He hinted at catching a big fish and seemed proud of his involvement, as if he thought he could outsmart everyone by talking in riddles. But, as we've seen, these guys were far from criminal masterminds. Then there's Rashad Murphy, who made some truly baffling decisions. You'd think that after participating in a murder, you'd want to lay low and avoid leaving any trace of your presence. But Rashad did the exact opposite. He booked an Airbnb in Tampa, just a mile from where Foolio was killed, under his own name. If that wasn't bad enough, he kept a screenshot of the booking confirmation on his phone, which included his Florida ID. This placed Rashad and his crew in Tampa at the time of the murder, providing investigators with solid evidence linking them to the crime. After the murder, instead of hightailing it back to Jacksonville, Rashad and the others returned to their Airbnb, where they were caught on the Ring camera at the front door. They were still wearing the same clothes they had on during the murder. It was as if they were completely oblivious to the fact that they were being watched and recorded. Alicia Andrews, another member of the crew, didn't exactly cover herself in glory either. Just 2 weeks after the murder, she appeared in a music video with Youngeen Ace, mocking Foolio's death. It's like she had completely forgotten that she was a suspect in a high-profile murder case. Instead of keeping a low profile, she flaunted her involvement in the crime, practically daring the police to come after her. When she was eventually caught, Alicia tried to play the innocent card, claiming she didn't really know what was going on and that she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But her actions in that music video told a different story. She wasn't just an unwitting participant. She was actively celebrating the murder of Foolio. In the midst of all this, the case took an even stranger turn. Some guy decided to post a video online claiming he was the one who actually killed Foolio and that he did it for $10,000. He even said that Youngeen Ace had put out the bounty on Foolio. Now, a lot of people thought this guy was just clout chasing, making up stories for likes and views on social media. But still, it's hard to imagine someone being so reckless as to post a video of their face and voice, essentially confessing to a murder, just to gain some online attention. Whether or not this guy was telling the truth, his actions added another layer of absurdity to an already unbelievable case. To add to the complexity of the story, Foolio's driver sat down for an interview and shared his perspective on what went down in the lead-up to Foolio's death. He talked about how Foolio was being careless, at least from his point of view. Despite knowing he had enemies out there, Foolio wasn't keeping his guard up like he should have. Even though Tampa is only a 3-hour drive from Jacksonville, Foolio saw it as a place to relax and let his guard down. But that turned out to be a fatal mistake. The driver gave a detailed account of the night of the murder. He was behind the wheel, with Foolio riding shotgun and a couple of others in the back seat. They were just sitting in the car, trying to figure out their next move, where to head to party. But before they could decide, the killers rolled up and got into position. From the surveillance footage released by the police, you can see how the killers set up to trap Foolio, blocking him in so he couldn't escape once the shooting started. When the shots rang out, the car took off at top speed, but it was already too late. The damage was done. After the murder, rumors began swirling about Alicia Andrews. Some people claimed that she had been at an Airbnb after-party with Foolio, and that she was the one who leaked his location to the killers. However, according to the driver, he never saw her there and didn't know where that story came from. But you know how it is with rumors. Once they start, they're hard to stop. People speculated that even if the driver did see Alicia, he might not admit it, fearing that it would make him look like a snitch. The official investigation, however, pointed to Alicia and her boyfriend Isaiah tailing Foolio's crew from spot to spot, not being part of his entourage or leaking his location. But in a case as convoluted as this one, who really knows? Julio Foolio's life was a constant battle for survival. Throughout his career, he had faced multiple attempts on his life. In October 2023, he was shot in the foot in Jacksonville, Florida, in a drive-by shooting. The black Dodge Challenger he was driving was riddled with bullets. His mom took to Instagram to ask for prayers, hoping her son would recover. Before that, in November 2021, Foolio was targeted again, this time in Riverside, Jacksonville. In that incident, Foolio shot back in self-defense and managed to escape unharmed. Shortly after, he went live on Instagram saying, "I shot back in self-defense. My gun is registered, and if I did something illegal, the police would have put me in jail. They must have thought I was lacking for sure." By 2023, Foolio had already survived several public attempts on his life, with 2 of them leaving him injured. Fast forward to 2024, Foolio had just turned 26 in June and decided to celebrate by throwing a pool party. Naturally, he went on Instagram to share the location, letting his followers know where the party was at. But as the day progressed, things took a turn. According to his Instagram posts, Foolio had to switch locations to a Holiday Inn because the police had kicked him out of the original spot. Just hours after that update, Foolio's girlfriend went on X, formerly Twitter, with a heartbreaking message. "Y'all took my boyfriend from me. I hate y'all, and I won't be the only one crying." Shortly after her post, a video clip from the Holiday Inn parking lot surfaced on social media. It was confirmed that around 4:30 in the morning in Tampa Bay, Florida, Foolio was found shot along with 3 other people. Tragically, Foolio, the 26-year-old rapper celebrating his birthday, didn't survive. After all those attempts on his life, they finally managed to get him. But fortunately, his killers are now in custody and about to go to trial. All we can do now is wait and see how this whole thing plays out. The Foolio case is one of those stories that will be remembered for years to come. Not just because of the tragic loss of a young life, but because of the sheer incompetence of the killers, the bizarre twists and turns in the investigation, and the wild rumors and confessions that surfaced along the way. It's a story that shows just how dangerous and unpredictable life can be in the world of street rap, where fame and success often come with a heavy price. As we wait for the trial to begin, one thing is clear. The Foolio case is far from over. There are still questions to be answered, and the full truth may never come to light. But one thing is certain. Julio Foolio's legacy will live on, not just through his music, but through the story of his life and the shocking events that led to his untimely death. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the latest celebrity news and crime stories. Until next time, stay safe and take care.